Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and good mornings. Okay, so today we continue for our lecture, second lectures and lecture 2 is about the general overview of the measuring drawing. It's about the scaling and dimension. Okay, in this topic, we identify the scaling and dimension for the production, the standards of the scaling and dimension, and drawing guideline for the scaling and dimensions. Okay, so we go through for our topics. Okay, what is the major drawings? Okay. As we know, the major drawings of building are designed according with the nationally uh, recognized standard. The design concept is a transfer to set of drawing that provide a 2 or 3 dimensional representative. Since it would be the impractical to create a full size drawing for a building, it's reduced to the manageable and size, so we can reduce, we can enlarge the drawing inside your technical measured drawing. A drawing will be indicate both in the scale, in the ratio, and the unit of the measurement being used. If we use the scale 1 ratio 10, the unit that we use is a centimeter. But when we use the 1 ratio 100, and the unit is meters. So everything is depend on the ratio that we use for the measure drawing. The international system of unit SI is the most commonly adopted system of the unit. The standard unit use of drawing in millimeters, mm, and meters. So they use the millimeters and meter. Okay, so this is a measured drawing on the for the buildings. As we know, as we seen, this one is the floor plan. All right. So they have their scale, and then they have their section areas that they cut for the building. So this is a perspective view. This one is the front elevator, front view. Okay, so the drawing scale, the importance of the scale, as we look for the pictures, the original pictures is like that. Okay, so the real house is a 1500 millimeters high and 2000 millimeters long. Follow the scale, scale for the 1 ratio 10. The drawn house size is the 150 millimeters for the height and 200 meters for the long. So that is when we use the scale 100 ratio 10. Okay, so that is a difference. Okay, introduction about the drawing scale. Scale drawing allow to the accurately represent site, space, buildings, and details to a smaller or the more practical size than the original. When the drawing is described as to the scale, it means that each element in that drawing in the same proportion relate to the real or the proposed thing, just it is smaller of the indeed largest by the particular percentage. And the word used, drawn to the scale, it has been drawn or the printed to a common scale that is used standard in the construction industry. The next point, the scale reduction is the when the drawing is smaller than the actual object. The scale increase when the drawing is larger than the actual object. For the example, as a number in the scale get bigger, for example, this is 1 ratio 50, 1 ratio 200. The element in the drawing actually gets smaller from the original size. This is because the drawing is a 1 ratio 50. There is a 1 unit for the every 50 unit in the real life. A drawing of ratio 200, the representatives or 200 unit for every 1 unit, and therefore is showing the element smaller than the 1:50 drawing. Okay, and when we look from these pictures, okay, you can see the difference from the 1:50 and 1:1. And the 1:1 is the original size. And then for 1:15, they use the millimeter. They use the meters. When we use the 1:1 is a centimeter or millimeters. Okay, so this is the real pictures. Real pictures 100 centimeters, 200 centimeters dia punya length and dia punya long. Okay, when we use the scale 1:15, they change for their units. From 100 centimeter become 2 centimeter. So it's like this lah. 1 meters or 100 centimeters is become the 2 centimeters. And then for the 200 centimeter is become 400 4 centimeters. Okay, so this is the ratio. You can see there at your scale rule, triangle scale rule, you can see the ratio here. Then yeah. Okay, so this is a graphics about the scale, full scale. When we call the full scale, their ratio is 1:1. So they become like this. So when we reduce the size, half scale is 1:2, and they become the small. When we want to twice, 2:1 is twice. So you must familiar with the arrangement, how to reduce, how to open, besarkan. Alright. The scale ruler is a tool that architecture engineer and designer use to draw their design at the appropriate scale that it fits on the piece of the paper and is the proportion of accurately convey the scheme. The scale ruler come in different shape, flat and triangular, but they all provide set and graduate number space that establish a proportion of the 1 unit to the specified unit. Alright, so they have many type of the scale ruler. For example, they have the metric scale, engineer scale, decimal scale, mechanical and engineer scale, architecture scale, and scale guide. What scale should I use? Okay, so the chosen scale and the paper size will often depend on the size of the site of the design of each individual project. Okay, number 2 is a scale work, a guide to the degrees of detailing, and it indicate in which phase the project is in. And the natural tendency of the designing process is to start from the broader group process, which requires a smaller scale, to the more detailed consideration which require a larger scale. Okay, when we see the pictures, okay, so the ratio 1:15,000 is more for the cartography, maps and zoning function here. And then for the ratio 1,000 is more for the urban text or site location. 2005 to 200 50 and 2000 is more for the location, building site and roof plan. Okay, for the ratio 150 to 100 is for the plan and section who details. Okay, 1:75 to 1 to 5 ratio is detail for the plan detail of the direction and material coatings. And then 1:20 and to 1 ratio 10 is more for the detail about the material and furnitures. Okay. The scale for the ratio 1 uh, ratio 5 to 1:1 is the detailed joint and fixation. Okay. So you must to understand the scale that you want to do for your measure drawing. Okay, so this one is very important for you when you want to draft the measure drawing. Okay, so the location plan and key, as we know, the ratio is like this. Okay, and the ratio, and then the zoom, their function is zooming in the project that demand and context for reading without the needing to show largest territorial extension. The interval between 1:1000 and ratio 1:500 is deal for the most site plan. An overview of the building and its location in the urban fabric, block and neighborhood, for the example, can be contained in the total scale. It's possible to highlight important elements such as the availability of the infrastructure, among others. Okay, for the site plan sketch schemes, you can see the uh, ratio here. So the version 1 of the representation, the aim stop being the surrounding content and start focusing the design itself, and it become necessary to zoom in the scale 1:250 and 1:200 handle this type of the site plan. The component of design become more evident here: the shape and the volume, the access room characteristic, and the relations among built and empty space. This scale can also serve plans, section, and elevation in the largest building for the broader reading of the proposal, and they can even contemplate some spatial composition and layout. Even when it comes to a smaller intervention, they can be used on the first approach, working satisfactorily in the early stage and discuss and decision making that, with time, will guide and more accurate development of the technical and constructive matter. Okay, for the plan drawings, floor plan, elevation, section. Okay, the ratio here. Okay, as the scale get the bigger, it is necessary to evaluate the degree of the expression size of the working as represented. Scale between 1 to 1 ratio 150 and 1:100 can also work well. Approach of the smaller work and typologies. In the case of the largest building, is a complete contemplate more detailed drawing and model, including structure element and better defined layout. For the room plan and interior elevation, this is their ratio 1:20, 1:25, and it is also valid for the flooring, specific wall coating, and for the interior design. 150 ratio 150 to 1:25 is also possible to zoom in room for the better detail specific components such as the plumbing, electrical, and structure plan. A more specific use is the ratio 1:20, 1:10 scale is to the representing of the furnitures. This is common for the both architecture and furniture designer to represent the working of their components and their structure. Being a smaller object, the needs for the greater scale and evidence. And then for the component detail drawing, ratio is 1:10, 1:5. in the building, these scale are used in detailed drawing. So this is the detailed drawing. As you can see the every detail for the element that you want to highlight. For example, for this area, all right. Title block. And so we go to for the title block. A title block is the template located on the bottom of the lower right hand corner for the sheet and divide into the several areas. The information within the title block are the drawing title, drawing number, the drawing title, drawing number, the site location, design, and others. The drawing of title numbers are used for the identify the filing purpose. The area also contains the signature and approve signatures and approve date, approve information, and when the by whom the drawing was draft and verified for final process. So this is you can see the title block. Okay, this is the basic title block that you can choose for template for title block. Okay, ini dia punya design dreamers, who is the drawer, who is the architect, who is the person yang luluskan plan kamu, the detail about the client, the title, scale, and then so on lah. Right, so this is another plan title block. Ada yang berada di tepi, ada yang berada this area, and ada yang berada di bottom line, di bottom, ada yang berada di this area. Okay, so this one ada scale, ada drawing number, drawing name, drawing code, check by siapa, dia punya detail, designer siapa, material, and so on. Okay, so we go to for the lettering. So this is the lettering. Incline the italic, capital letter, and numeral are similar to vertical character except of the slope letter about the 68 from the horizontal. So ini kalau kita menggunakan italic, italic dia condong sikit, yang dia punya condong ni adalah 68 from the horizontal. And the weight of the line from the lettering varies the type and scale of the drawing. Random notes and drawing information from the ladder line, dimension line may be lightweight, and the line style. Tag with the title block and medium for the bold depend upon the important for the lettering. Users to the label drawing set a floor plan and sort elevation may need to be medium and may need to be medium. Okay. Medium and bold. Within the range light, medium and bold, light and maybe also vary of the weight slightly and need emphasize of the part of the drawing. Okay, so the light thin the line drawn to the obtain uniform the correct height of the letter are called the guidelines. The guidelines should be drawn very light, thin, so that they need not be erased after the lettering is finished. To erase guideline after finishing the lettering is not easily possible. Guideline for the capital and lowercase lettering. Okay, so this one is a guideline there, and this line guideline, and this one is guideline. They're very light. Spacing between the letters and uniform spacing between the letters is done by the eye, contrary to what they might seem logical. Putting equal distance from the letter to letter causes them to appear unequally spaced. Maksudnya dia punya size jarak dia mestilah sekata. Jangan terlalu rapat, jangan terlalu jauh. The spacing between the word, the letter closely within word to make the each word a compact unit, but space word well enough apart to the clearly separate them from the adjacent words. Spacing between the row, be sure to leave space between row and lettering usually equal to letter height. Okay, dia punya height kamu boleh nampak di sini. Okay, so dimension. We go to dimension. Dimension is the numerical value expressed in the approximate unit of the measurement and used to define the size, location, size, location, orientation, from the other geometric characteristic of the part. And dimension line. So the line terminate by the arrow head with the indicate the direction extent of dimension. So this is arrowhead, feature size, extension line, visible gap. Jadi jarak sini. Extension line. The extension line is a thin solid line that extends from the point on drawing to which dimension refer. Extension line, this one. Okay, this. And visible gap. Ladder line. A straight incline, the solid and usually terminate by the arrows. For example, this one. The ladder may be terminate with the arrow if the end of the outline of the object. Seperti yang saya cakap tadi. Yang menunjukkan this one, dia punya radius dia 2. Okay, and then we a dot if end with the outline of the objects. Macam ni contoh. Menunjukkan this one is apa? Without an arrow or dot if the end within the outline of the object. This one. Dia punya contoh je. Arrowheads are drawn between the extension line if the possible. If the space limited, they may be drawn outside. For example, kalau ni space dia okey. Space dia kecil. Jadi dia punya words dia berada di luar. Ataupun kita boleh gunakan cara macam ini. Arrow je ke dalam, dia punya tulisan dia di luar. So the tiga boleh di accept. Dia based on kepada situation. Sekiranya space tu kecil, kita macam mana gunakan. Kalau lagi kecil, kita macam mana kita nak gunakan. Dia based on kepada situation on your design punya dimension. Okay, dimension symbol. Okay, so the diameter macam ni bentuk dia. I hope you already familiar with this symbol. Diameter, radius, what is the radius punya symbol R, spherical radius SR, reference dimension macam ni based on pada numbers tu. Sometimes dia 4, kadang-kadang 2, kadang-kadang 1. Counter spot face macam mana, countersink, number of time of the space, and then depth, berapa dimension not scale, equal shape, add the length, conical tapes, slope, symmetry. Okay, so the spacing and readabilities. The spacing between the dimension lines should be uniform throughout the drawing. Do not dimension inside the object or have the dimension line to the object unless clearness in the gain. Dimension text should be horizontal, which means that is read from the bottom of the drawing. And then dimension text should not cross dimension, extension, and visible line. For example, it's like this. Okay. Okay, so they have the dimension layer. So like this, and the other. Better this one. And the gap between the circle and the outside there. Dimension total areas. Spacing, there is spacing. Don't dim inside the object. 3 and 4 text, maksudnya jangan bertindih, no gap, no gap. You must have the gap here. This one, this one. Missing dim, diameters of the hole here. Dia punya diameter je, tak ada, tak bagi. So dimension line should not cross extension line and other dimension line. Extension line can all cross other extension line or visible line. Extension line and center line should not connect between the view, and the leader line should be straight, not curved, and point the center of the arch of the circle and angle between 30 to 60 degrees. Okay, so the leader lines, okay, center line, text, crossing dim, and text line. So the dimension placement. Dimension should be grouped, wherever possible. Dimension should be placed between the view, unless clearness is the promote by the placing some outside. Dimension should be attached to the view where the shape is shown best. Do not dimension hidden line. Okay. For example, correctly dimension. Kat sini nampak And then type of dimension, they have linear and alignment. Like this. Radius and diameter, R for the radius. Radius. This one is mean, symbol is used for the diameter. Angular. So jadi dua, sama ada berada di dalam atau sama ada dia berada di luar. And then baseline. Okay, baseline dia standardnya. That's all for our topic 2 lectures. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and thank you.